The little girl gave a silent signal to a police dog. And what that dog did next shocked everyone in the airport. No one saw it. Not the travelers rushing to catch flights, not the security guards distracted by paperwork, not even the woman holding the girl's hand. Only one creature noticed. A German shepherd named Shadow. And that single moment, one silent signal, changed everything. It started as an ordinary morning at JFK Airport. Families clutching passports, business travelers on their phones, children tugging on their parents' sleeves, just another day of movement and noise. But Officer Ethan Parker wasn't there to blend in. His job was to notice what others missed. And beside him, Shadow, ears twitching, nose searching, walked with the quiet confidence of a partner who'd seen it all. They'd patrolled this place 100 times before. Nothing ever seemed different. Until now. Shadow froze. His body stiffened, tail straight, muscles tense, eyes locked on something in the crowd. Ethan felt it immediately, that instinctive change in his partner's energy. "What is it, boy?" he whispered, scanning the sea of travelers. Then he saw her. A little girl, maybe 7 years old, walking beside a woman in a bright blue coat. At first glance, they looked like any other passengers, but Shadow didn't think so, and Ethan had learned long ago, you never ignore a dog's instincts. The girl's free hand trembled as she pressed it against the woman's coat. Not a wave, not a fidget, a message, a silent signal. And in that instant, Shadow knew something was wrong. Before we continue, take a second to subscribe to Loyal Protector Stories, because here, every story reminds us that loyalty, love, and courage still exist in this world. Each week, we bring you real stories that touch the heart, that make you believe again in the bond between humans and animals, and the quiet heroes who walk beside us every day. So go ahead, hit subscribe because you won't want to miss what happens next. It was just another ordinary morning at JFK Airport. Travelers hurried past each other, families clutching passports, business flyers glued to their phones, children tugging at tired parents who just wanted a coffee before boarding. The air buzzed with noise, motion, and the soft scent of jet fuel drifting through the glass walls. But amidst the chaos, Officer Ethan Parker stood calm, focused, watching. Beside him, his partner, a massive German shepherd named Shadow, sat alert, tail still, amber eyes scanning the crowd. They had walked these halls 100 times before, and nothing ever seemed different. Until today. Shadow's ears twitched, his body went rigid, like stone. Ethan felt the leash tighten in his hand. "Hey, what is it, buddy?" he murmured. But Shadow didn't move. His nose lifted slightly, as if scenting something no one else could. His entire body hummed with tension. Ethan followed his gaze through the blur of faces and motion. And that's when he saw her. A little girl, maybe 7 years old, walking beside a woman in a bright blue coat. The girl's small hand was swallowed up in the woman's grip. At first glance, it looked normal, just another traveler rushing to catch a flight. But Shadow's instincts said otherwise. And Ethan had learned long ago, you never ignore a dog's instincts. He narrowed his eyes. Something was off. The woman's smile looked painted on, like it was trying too hard. And the little girl, her shoulders were hunched, her steps small and hesitant. Then Ethan noticed her other hand, the one not being held. Tiny fingers trembling, pressed flat against the back of the woman's coat. Not waving, not fidgeting. It was a signal, a cry, silent but deliberate. Ethan's heartbeat quickened. He'd seen that kind of body language before. The stiffness of fear, the silent plea of someone too scared to speak. Then the girl dared one quick glance up, and her eyes met Shadow's, wide, shimmering, terrified. For a single heartbeat, everything around Ethan stopped. The world went quiet, except for the faint hum of engines outside. And in that fleeting second, the little girl's gaze said everything. "Help me, please." Ethan swallowed hard. "All right, boy," he whispered. "Let's go." Shadow moved first, steady, determined. His paws clicked against the tile floor as he weaved through the crowd, tail straight, body tense like a soldier on a mission. The woman in the blue coat didn't look back once. Her hand tightened on the girl's wrist as she hurried toward the security checkpoint. The girl's hand pressed against her coat again, shaking harder this time. It wasn't random. It was desperation. Ethan trailed them, his badge subtly visible, eyes never leaving the pair. Shadow let out a low, rumbling growl deep in his chest, almost too quiet for anyone else to hear. But Ethan heard it, and he knew that sound meant one thing: danger. Ethan moved quickly but carefully, matching the woman's pace without drawing attention. From a distance, he could see her lean down and whisper something to the girl, sharp and cold, before straightening again with that same too-perfect smile. Shadow's ears pinned back. He felt it, the kind of danger that didn't come from explosives or weapons. This was something darker, human. Ethan slowed his breathing, his eyes locked on the woman's every move. He was trained to look for patterns, forged documents, suspicious body language, nervous tics. But this was something you couldn't teach. This was instinct, his and his dog's. The woman reached the security line. She flashed a set of passports to the officer behind the desk, her voice sweet, rehearsed, steady. The officer frowned slightly, flipping through the papers. That's when it happened. Shadow barked. One sharp, commanding bark that cut through the entire terminal like thunder. People froze. Conversations stopped mid-sentence. Every head turned. Ethan didn't say a word. He didn't need to. Shadow had already said it. Something was very, very wrong. The little girl flinched, her small body shaking. Her lips parted, but no sound came out. Only the silent shape of two words that Ethan could read as clearly as if she'd screamed them. "Help me." Ethan's chest tightened. Then he saw him. A little boy, maybe 5 years old, standing behind the woman, clutching a stuffed bear so tightly his knuckles turned white. His eyes were empty. The kind of emptiness only fear could create. The woman's mask began to crack. Her hand squeezed the girl's wrist so hard that she winced. Ethan stepped forward, voice steady but firm. "Ma'am, I need you to step aside, please." Her tone sharpened, brittle with control. "Officer, we have a flight to catch. You're wasting your time." The crowd murmured. Phones started recording. The hum of curiosity rippled through the air, but Ethan didn't flinch. "Then this won't take long," he said, flashing his badge. "Just a few questions." Shadow's growl deepened, his body angled between the woman and the children. Even without words, everyone could feel it. That primal tension, that invisible thread pulling tighter with every second. The girl's chin trembled. A tear slipped down her cheek, falling soundlessly onto the polished floor. That was enough. Ethan made the call. "Take them in for questioning, now." 2 TSA agents moved in, calm but firm. The woman resisted immediately, her voice rising, her smile gone. "These are my children," she snapped, trying to pull away. "They're mine." But the girl's eyes told a different story. Inside the private room, the air was heavy. The woman's charm had vanished. Her hands twisted nervously in her lap. The 2 children sat side by side, silent, trembling. Ethan crouched down beside them. "Hey," he said softly. "You're safe now, okay?" The little girl's eyes darted to the door, then back to him. Her lip quivered as she whispered, So softly, Ethan almost missed it. "She's not my mother." The room fell silent. Even the air seemed to stop moving. Ethan's breath caught in his throat. Behind him, Shadow lifted his head slowly, eyes calm, as if he'd known all along. Ethan didn't move for a moment. He just looked at the little girl, her wide, frightened eyes, her trembling hands twisting in her lap. "What did you say, sweetheart?" he asked gently, lowering his voice. The girl swallowed hard. Her voice broke when she spoke again. "She's not my mother. She took us. She said if we talked, we'd never see our real mommy again." The words hit like a punch to the gut. Ethan's stomach sank. Behind him, one of the other officers froze mid-note, pen hovering above paper. Silence filled the room, heavy, suffocating. Then Shadow stood up, slow and deliberate, padding closer to the girl. He stopped right in front of her and sat, eyes soft, calm, almost protective. The girl looked up at him through tears. Ethan's throat tightened. He'd seen Shadow do this before, with victims, with children, with anyone broken by fear. Somehow, this dog just knew. The woman's voice snapped through the silence. "This is ridiculous. They're lying. I have documents." "Then you won't mind if we verify them," Ethan said, his tone firm now. He nodded to the investigator by the desk. The agent began cross-checking the papers, typing fast, fingers clacking on the keyboard. Seconds stretched like hours. Then the screen beeped. The agent's face hardened. He turned the monitor toward Ethan. The documents were fake. Every single one. The woman's face drained of color. She tried to speak, but her voice stumbled over itself, panic cracking through her composure. "Listen, I wasn't going to hurt them. I was just—" But Ethan wasn't listening anymore, because the truth was written all over her face. Two agents stepped in and placed her under arrest. The click of handcuffs echoed in the small room. For a moment, the woman tried to look back at the children, but they didn't move. The little boy pressed his stuffed bear tighter against his chest. The girl buried her face in her hands. As the woman was led away, her voice grew smaller, drowned out by the sound of the door closing behind her. Then there was silence. A silence that felt like safety. The girl looked up at Ethan, her cheeks streaked with tears. "I tried to tell someone," she whispered, "at the airport, but no one saw me." Ethan smiled sadly and pointed to the dog sitting beside him. "Someone did." The girl blinked, her gaze turning to Shadow. For the first time that day, her lips curved, just barely, into something like a smile. She reached out a small, shaky hand. Shadow leaned forward, pressing his nose gently against her palm. The little boy, still clutching his bear, crawled closer and wrapped his arms around the dog's neck. For the first time, the weight of fear began to lift from their tiny shoulders. Ethan swallowed hard, blinking away the emotion stinging at the back of his eyes. He'd seen a lot in his years on duty, but some moments stay with you forever. The girl whispered into Shadow's fur, her voice trembling but full of gratitude. "Thank you." Shadow didn't move. He didn't need to. He just sat there, calm and quiet, a silent hero in a noisy world. That day, 2 children were saved because one dog refused to ignore what others couldn't see. Ethan often thought about it later, about how close they came to walking right past those kids. How easy it would have been to miss the smallest signal. But heroes come in all shapes and forms. Some wear badges, some wear smiles. And some walk on 4 paws. If this story touched your heart, don't let it end here. Tap the like button. Share it with someone who believes in courage, compassion, and the bond between humans and animals. Because sometimes the greatest acts of bravery aren't loud. They're silent. They're instinctive, and they come from the heart.